first off, thanks for being patient, everyone. I know I'm late for my own stream, unfortunately, but decided I was going to have a nap and unfortunately did not wake up in time. So better late than never. So we are live at this point and we're going to continue work on Godzilla. So the good news, we're obviously live at this point. Bad news, I was hoping to have them finished, but we're clearly not quite there yet. So work continues today. What I'm going to basically do at this point, we're going to basically work on some more, oh god, let me deal with some camera angles here for you guys. We're going to work on a little bit more spines because I'm not too happy with how things kind of turned out in the neck department. Then we're also going to work on essentially the skin is probably going to be a good chunk of what's going to go on during this stream, I think. So we're going to use basically my fancy roller tools and give this guy that traditional kind of atomic blasted burnt skin. So yeah, again, I apologize. Thanks for you guys for being very patient. Still kind of new to all this, and yeah, it was a very late night last night to say the very least. I tried my best to get this guy all done, but not quite there yet. So we're going to do a little bit more live stream content. Hopefully I'm all finished by this evening, and then we will have a regular video post on, well, Saturday or Sunday, because I still have to talk to myself about Godzilla because, well, there's a lot of editing, but I digress. So we'll continue the stream here, and I will work on Godzilla, the new Empire version, I probably should mention. Now, hopefully my camera is a little bit more secure. That also kind of took me a few extra minutes, unfortunately, because I don't know if you guys were there for last time, but unfortunately the live stream camera kind of went for a little roller coaster, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. My selfie stick was not as secure as I hoped. This time we have a little bit more plasticine kind of holding things in place. Seems to be my solution for everything, unfortunately, so probably get you guys in just a little bit closer before I proceed with my sculpting. At some point here, I'll be able to have multiple cameras, which will be nice, but for now, this is what we're going to have to kind of deal with, unfortunately, guys. I do apologize if it's a little wanky and janky on your end, but only so much I can do about that for now. Okay, oh, that's a big name that you got there, oh boy. Just a minute, guys. Make sure my camera angles are good. I think we're okay. I can actually see everything, and you guys can see half decently, it seems, so cool. Green eyes. I'm making a... Oh, Behemoth. You're making the mammal one. That's really cool. He has been on my to-do list for quite some time, to be honest, because he is a fan favorite. I also figured out who Doug was, because I got spammed yesterday about having a Doug, and I think Doug is probably one of the more popular requests at this point, and I must agree why he is a fan favorite, because he's kind of a awkwardly adorable character. So yeah, Titanus Doug, thank you for introducing. I totally forgot about that character, guys. So yeah, he was only on for like 4 seconds out of the movie, so hopefully I can get some forgiveness on that end. But yeah, I was doing some studying, though, last night on this character, and I'm just kind of a little disappointed with how my spikes personally kind of look, because I'll admit I was kind of faking it. That's not what they're supposed to actually look like, so we're just going to keep these ones more or less as actual spares. So what I'm going to do is do what they're supposed to be like, and more or less like the giant kind of porcupine spikes that you see, the sharp pointy ones. And then he also has some running around the side of his neck, so we're going to add those in before we get too carried away with adding a bunch of skin details here. Doug. Doug. Oh, here comes the Doug again, yeah. Oh, I should probably mention, too, before I get too far into the stream, guys, the background music that you hear in the, well, background, obviously, is royalty-free, and if you're curious about it, you will find links to the posts, well, to the music in the post description, so if you enjoyed the music, be sure to check it out. Just should probably mention that, just for copyright purposes. Even though, and I don't know if it's necessary to have the background music, but I just know a lot of people do. I'm kind of doing it in a traditional method at this particular juncture, but making it work. So, I need some oven-baked clay, which is what we're going to make these spikes out of here. So, what I like to use for that stuff is Sculpey. I tend to buy it by the box load, because I use lots of it. Not sponsored, but this stuff is great for any inspiring sculptors out there using oven-baked clay. This stuff is a little bit more on the pricey end, but, oh god, as I'm dropping it on the floor, it is honestly well worth the purchase, because, yeah. You can bake this stuff over and over again, and it just simply never cracks. It's great. So, in that sense, awesome product. Because no one wants to spend hours and hours making something in order it to just be ruined, right? Because that's just no fun for anyone at that point. So, we're going to make a few spikes here. Pretty easy to make those. Essentially, I just kind of start with a small little ball, pinch it off, and then just add a little flat base so we can stick our wire through it. And there we go. We got a spike. The pinch and pull method, as I like to call it. So I notice he generally has a large tower, well, I don't know if that's the appropriate terminology, but a set of fairly larger spikes that kind of lead up to the middle of his neck, and then a bunch of small ones that kind of glow off to the side. So we're just going to make the big guys first, and work our way up and then down. My dad just bought some... Oh, nice, you got some Sculpey clay? You'll love that stuff. Honestly, it's, yeah, one of my favorite products, because I've had some projects go really bad in the past, unfortunately, spending hours and hours on something, and then, yeah, it just ends up cracking. With this stuff, you can... It's really nice, because if you end up getting, say, a really detailed piece with your oven-baked clay, essentially what I like to do is hit the save button, as I like to refer it as. You basically just toss it in the oven and save all the progress that you have made so far, so that way you don't have to smush everything and then spend a bunch of time re-sculpting, right? So essentially you can kind of bake things over and over again. Try not to get too carried away with that, and, you know, if you're dealing with thinner objects, keep the time down from what it would normally be suggested, but you should be okay. This stuff's pretty forgiving. It just doesn't like to be undercooked, so nothing less than 13 minutes is my kind of suggestion, because if it's undercooked, then it just gets really crumbly, so don't do that either. Been there, done that, yeah. About 25 plus years of experience with sculpting at this point in my life, 25 years of experience sculpting. Can you tell I'm tired? I still can't speak properly. My nap wasn't as effective as I was hoping. But yeah, I apologize for being late for my own stream. I'm just kind of odd concept to be late in my own house, but... but was well needed. Feel a lot better at this point. I can only imagine how bad it would be if I wasn't. Yeah, oof. Oof. But yeah, kind of curious too. I know a lot of people want to see a Kong and stuff like that would be another one, but obviously we're going to be making a Shimu next due to my overwhelming amount of clay, white plasticine clay inventory. That needs to be reduced at this particular point. That was shown a couple streams ago, because, yeah. We need to replenish my black plasticine before I can kind of really actually start continuing any other major monster projects, such as like a Titanus Doug, or a whatchamacallit, Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla is the other one that's technically leading fairly high up on my list, and of course my tablet is way over there. I will be right back. No free publicity for you. Yeah, my background music's just being played off a Wi-Fi speaker, so May or may not have to push the skip and add button from time to time. My apologies. It's rather unorthodox. I've been meaning to try and download the music, but I'm not sure what I'm doing on my tablet just yet, unfortunately, in that regards. I'm not necessarily the most tech-savvy YouTuber. I know that's weird, but yeah. It says it downloaded it, but I don't know where the files are. It's like, okay, I don't have time to figure this out. Great. Works fine on my phone. I don't know why the tablet seems to be fussy. But maybe by the weekend I'll figure that out. I'll have a little bit more time. And we'll be on the next project, which we'll probably be doing a lot of live streaming on, I think, which will be kind of interesting, because that way you guys will pretty much get to see essentially nearly the entire process at that point being kind of filmed, which will be really cool, I think. Obviously, it's very time-consuming, as you can tell. We're only just kind of finishing up this second row of spikes here on the other side of his neck, which I should probably rotate so you guys can see just a little bit better. But yeah. Similar technique to the other spikes, just kind of a pinch and roll. And once I'm done making all these guys, I'll end up taking a little bit of wire here, and then just kind of essentially using that as the holder, for lack of a better term. Drive it into the spike just a little bit, so that way it doesn't actually cause any other problems like my other Godzillas have had in the past, unfortunately. Hello, Dylan Sam. I appreciate you guys for really being patient, because, yeah, that must have been a little like, hey, he scheduled 7:30. What's going on here? This isn't right. Just, unfortunately, not a lot I can do about that when I'm asleep. So, my bad. Late night last night. Didn't get a whole lot of rest. But did my best to try and finish this guy. Blaze Man, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, he's been not exactly I don't know if he's the most challenging Godzilla, but he's definitely just kind of the largest overall and probably the spikiest. So took a little longer than expected, but I definitely think it was worth the extra time. Some people would say you can't rush art, right? And Kong 2021. Hey, you really have... yes, thank you. I appreciate... Yeah, I've been playing with plasticine clay for literally my entire life, I think, is kind of like the gist of it. I don't exactly know when I've started playing with this stuff. So... was my favorite toy as a child, and, well, I don't think I fully ever really grew up from it, but that's okay. It's definitely a lot of fun, and I personally just think it's extremely cool, especially when you're able to, you know, get to the point where you hone your skills, because the only limit is your imagination when it kind of comes to this stuff, right, in my opinion. So once you get good at it, think of it this way. You can make whatever you want. Which is a pretty cool capability at that point. Not to mention, you basically have your own fully anatomical toy, generally. Depending on your process. I didn't always use skeletons and stuff like that. You know, some people don't exactly like that too much with their claymation characters because it can cause damage, but I usually like to have that extra security of them being a little bit more resilient. Because they're usually delicate as is, obviously, because you're dealing with just an entire clay character. Even though he is probably about 6 pounds, 5 pounds. I'll have to get probably like a smaller scale at some point, I think, for my characters, just so I can kind of figure out what a lot of this stuff is. I usually end up buying packages and then it says that much, and then I end up mixing a bunch of clay and adding a lot more than what the packages usually come with, so they always end up being quite a bit larger than what I usually kind of assume is all I'm gonna need. So, now that my neck spikes are done, that looks far more appropriate in my opinion. I don't know if you guys think so too. Surprised no one called me out on that, but I'm definitely one that will take constructive criticism, although I tend to be my own worst critic, it seems, a lot of the time, where I'm like, nope, that's incorrect. Not worthy. So, now we're going to move on and play with a little bit of aluminum wire, which is one of my favorite tools, obviously, for, well, making these guys, because that's generally what I make the entire skeleton out of, which is obviously well past that point, but essentially, this is what kind of makes up all the joints in between for his elbows and his knees. This Godzilla is a little more advanced because he actually has some Lego, like Lego ball joints basically for his shoulders and hips. Not too sure it worked out as well as I'd hoped for the shoulders, but that is where test animations are required, and we'll kind of figure out whether or not that was a good move. If not, then we're going to have to do some surgery at that point and cut off his arms and basically just give him some wire hinges. Because I haven't had any issues with that, but he seems to have a little bit of mobility issues about reaching across his chest. In particular, I don't want to play around with him too much right now, but I think this Godzilla is going to be throwing a lot of big haymakers. He won't be able to do the quick jabs nearly as well as, say, some of my other characters. I'm not sure if you guys can see it too well in the background. Yeah, you can see -1 back there, and King Ghidorah's head poking around. King Ghidorah's way bigger, though. I think King Ghidorah is going to be probably the record, but I think that's, yeah, we'll see what happens when I start making Shimu. I got a feeling Shimu might actually be bigger, and I'm just thankfully Shimu doesn't have wings. Because, yeah, wings are a bit of a nightmare to deal with, guys. If you ever have to make a character with wings, be prepared. There's a few hacks that you can kind of do to make it a lot easier at that point. But overall, you're just going to be dealing with really thin sheets of clay, so they're really hard to, well, make for one. And secondly, it's going to be extremely difficult to make sure you can kind of maintain their shape the entire time. So it's a fight, but really cool. But at the same time, too, I know I'm not the only armature doll maker that generally kind of cringes when they go look at wings. It's like, oh, God. No. Not ideal. Not to mention, there's usually the small order of trying to make things fly with characters like that, which is just a whole other degree of difficulty for your stop motion on top of it too, right? I think what I'm probably going to end up doing for a lot of those scenes in particular is just kind of green screening that and just kind of creating an optical illusion. Because that way, I technically don't actually have to have the character flying. I can basically just lay him down flat on top of the green screen and then just place the image accordingly to give it the illusion of flight, right? Ooh, that's a very long stud. So yeah, well, I'll give you guys a quick demonstration as to what I'm doing here. Essentially, just driving in that spike or aluminum wire piece into the spike, therefore creating a mounting point for it. Not driving them in all the way, I'm just kind of sticking them in place so I know where everything's kind of supposed to be. I like to try and keep my spikes in order, because it generally can be a bit of a mess when you have hundreds of spikes in a row and you don't know what order they're entirely supposed to be in. That sucks. Maybe I'm just being a bit picky about it, but I usually like to have my Godzillas with the most amount of accuracy possible. Zilla Zombie 666. That's a cool name. Looking great. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for joining the live stream. Fortunately, I'm a little late to my own party. Odd as that sounds, but we're fashionably late today. Considering Godzilla's almost done. Although he's still pretty blind. I have to get those eyes finished tonight. It's another thing I usually am a little nervous about. You screw up the eyes. You don't need a googly-eyed Godzilla. No one's gonna, yeah. Ugh. This isn't the 1964 version we're making. That one famously kind of looks like a cookie monster, unfortunately. Hey, Gamer Bros. Thanks for joining in. A little later than usual, but better late than never. Thanks for joining into the live stream. Hopefully your evening is going well. Mine hasn't been bad. I had needed a nap. Unfortunately, that is why, yeah. We are experiencing some delays, but I think what I'll probably try and do here on out is more or less kind of set my streams for probably around 8 p.m. EST. Just so I don't necessarily feel as rushed and my puppies can get their adventures and all that stuff. So that's one thing I should mention too. I do have a zoo. Everyone seems to be kind of pretty chill at the moment. So if there are any animal interruptions, I do apologize. Dylan Sam, hey buddy. Fire in the hole. Bro needs an Oscar. I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm at that level, but would be pretty cool. I mean, I would suffice for a play button. I'd be more than satisfied with that. I'll leave it at that. So, yeah. Speaking of which, if you guys boost things up a little bit here, I think that's a good time for a shameless plug. If you enjoy this type of content, be sure to smash the like button as hard as a kaiju. Comment below what your favorite monster is. Or dinosaur. I happen to be kind of a big dinosaur nerd, so if we can maybe have a few discussions on dinosaurs, I would definitely like that route. I know you guys can throw some weird dinosaur names in my direction, so I might be kind of... I thought I was well diversed in Greek and Latin, but you guys have proven me wrong a few times on that one. But, or your favorite kaiju. Monsters are always a cool favorite subject here as well. I'm a big fan of monsters. Obviously, Godzilla is probably one of my favorites, so definitely looking forward to adding this one to my collection. Someday we'll have a whole team of Godzillas, I'm sure. So yeah, I'll probably demonstrate, like I said earlier, what I'm doing. Hopefully you guys can see half decently. It's a little, obviously, probably further distance. So basically you just take your little piece here, stick it in. That's all you need to do. For these spikes, I'm not really adding any added texture. Sometimes I'll take a little wire tool to the hand claws or the foot claws in particular. I usually like to kind of do that to kind of imitate a keratin sheath. That's the dinosaur nerd in me coming out at that point. For those of you who are unaware, the keratin sheath is essentially like a protective coating for a claw for any living organism, dinosaur or animal. It basically is the same thing as your fingernails. So all the bones that you see with big horns like Triceratops or the Thagomizers on a Stegosaurus spike, those would be about 25 to 30% larger and sharper. So, fun fact. Only got one more spike here to do, and then these are ready for the oven. And I think I'll bake these at 275 degrees Fahrenheit and 135 degrees Celsius for you American viewers. Can you tell where I'm from, eh? And right, those are all done, so we can basically put those aside, and they will be painted and clear coated later on tonight. Once they are all baked, and I'll probably throw them in there for about 15 minutes, I think. I'm not sure if I mentioned that or not. Okay, now I just need to try and keep things in an organized fashion. My favorite dinosaur is Velociraptor. And yeah, your favorite kaiju is Biollante. Biollante is a really cool one. Scared to try and make one of those. I would love to, but I just know it's going to be a it's going to be a lot of late nights on that one. Hopefully I'm not passing out before and being late to my own stream once again. Oh, yeah. I digress. I gotta find a place to put these spikes now. Apparently my oven bake tray is not close by. This isn't good, people. I don't want to walk anywhere. Been walking all day. Just want to sit here, play with my Godzilla at this point. Well, I think I'm going to leave that with you guys over here for now. You are now the protectors of the spikes. But yeah, Velociraptor is definitely a good pick for favorite dinosaurs. My only bone to pick with that one is more or less everyone seems to think that Jurassic Park is extremely accurate on that one. The sad reality of the situation is they just thought the name was cool. It was supposed to be, which one was it? A lot of people seem to think it's supposed to be the Utah, but technically the Utah wasn't discovered in time. I believe it was supposed to actually be a Deinonychus. So, a little lesser known raptor. I don't know why they thought that name wasn't cool. I personally think Deinonychus has got a good ring to it, but I guess I'm not the producer, so. The Velociraptor sounds really sweet. Awesome. I'm glad you're excited to see Shimu. That one's going to be an interesting project. I'm pretty excited about it. It's been a while since I've done a four-legged character. And I'm really curious as to see whether or not I'm going to... The trend continues with my projects here, and things just seem to be keep getting bigger. I think the only competition Shimu's going to have size-wise in my studio is going to be the King Ghidorah, because King Ghidorah was so far the biggest one. I think that thing is about approximately 11 pounds of clay, and he is 17, 16 inches tall, about the same height as this guy. This guy's a little shorter, not by much, and then his wingspan is over 2 feet, so he is a big character. Animating with him is honestly a bit of a task. There's a lot to take care of at that point, to say the very least. Not to mention you have 3 heads. But there's a few things I'm definitely really looking forward to with that one. So there'll be some animation preparation with that guy in the near future, I think. Especially with his regenerative powers, I think that would be a lot of fun to kind of represent that in a claymation fashion. Because as sad as it would be, I'm going to basically be ruining everything that I would make on the face and just kind of blast it away. I'll probably end up having some replacement faces, for lack of a better description, to just kind of help not ruin the initial one, maybe. Kind of have like a dummy replacement to just kind of slowly mess that up in comparison, so I don't feel nearly as bad. So, King Ghidorah projects, yes. Future monster fights. Do you know FNAF? I'm not sure what that acronym means. Do you? Yeah, I'm not familiar with your abbreviation there, sir. I'm sorry. Guess I'm dating myself. Very big plan, you know, Godzilla. Yeah, basically, it's like a strange combination of, like, plant and Godzilla. it's kind of cool, honestly, to a certain extent, because my parents are actually kind of scientists in that regard, so shout out to them for, you know, supplying me plasticine for all these years. But they're big into plants and stuff like that too, so there's a lot of like kind of strange plant bioengineering stuff that I would be kind of familiar with, and I always found that really interesting, honestly, about that character. I have a bit of a green thumb, so really miss summertime at this point. It's been winter for months and months, so yeah. I'm ready for springtime at this point. I'm not a fan of -30. Ugh. Hopefully it's warmer where you guys are from. I mean, it's not that bad today. I think it was only minus like 22 or minus 23. So, gets cold up here. But that being said, I'm kind of excited because this guy was obviously frozen in the Arctic, so I think that will lead to kind of drop a slight hint as to where some of my glamour shots might be. I'll be out in my snowbanks again. Ugh. Just like the Cryolophosaurus video, which I think is a really cool dinosaur. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that one, but it's an Antarctic carnivore. I think it's one of the only ones found from Antarctica, too, unfortunately. Not like the only dinosaur, but only carnivorous dinosaur found from Antarctica. Looks a lot like a smaller Allosaurus, for lack of a better description. But instead of having the traditional pointy spikes across his eyes, he has this weird, almost like comb-over curl on top of his head. It's really cool. So, definitely a very underrated dinosaur, and I personally wish it was far more popular, because it's a weird one. I like my weird dinosaurs. Okay, so I'm going to now start with the skin impressions on our Godzilla, but I would like to clean off my tool a little bit beforehand, just so I'm not actually mushing in any undesirable material, be it clay or... Seems like there's some dog hair. Of course, there's dog hair on everything I own. But the idea behind this guy, all we're going to do is just basically go over the entire body of Godzilla and just kind of run him over, for lack of a better term. Giving him that scaly look. And whilst I do this, I'll probably be looking for even and odd spots on this character as well, just kind of filling in the areas. I mean, this stuff doesn't really kind of helps hide it a lot. I don't know how well you guys can kind of see that, but you can see the texture looks a lot more Godzilla-esque, for lack of a better term. God, you're a heavy man. Yeah. It'll be interesting once I start playing around with you. Seem to be one of the more top-heavy Godzillas. You can see. It's a bit of a task just to get him to move around, but I think that added resistance is almost a good thing. Because that'll make me basically have to move him just a little bit slower because, well, he's a giant monster and they don't really move too fast. Dylan Sam, Godzilla 1954. He was actually the first Godzilla I made. I'm guessing that is your favorite kaiju? Five Nights at Freddy's. Oh, okay, jeez. Oh. I should be a slight ashamed of myself, considering I'm a bit of a YouTuber at this point, and I didn't understand that acronym. That's a little disappointing. Luckily, I'm not the film theorist, so I haven't done a bazillion videos on that, so yeah, my bad. That would be interesting, though. I honestly kind of think that would be kind of a lot of fun to do some stop-motion horror in that sense with those, because, yeah, I've done a couple creepier videos kind of in the past, but something I've tried to kind of tone down a little bit because there's some really that's a rabbit hole I don't know if I really recommend for a lot of people, because sometimes there's some really horrifying stop motion cartoons out there. It's just like, oh my god. Ah! What am I watching? Oof. Oh, hello, Holly girl. If you hear any tail whipping, it is just my German Shepherd who is joining in for the stream. Apparently, she is no longer very camera shy. Yeah, she's always in here smiling. Here. You want to say hi to everybody, sweetie? Yeah, hi. Close and personal. Hopefully you guys didn't see too much dog snot. Okay, let's not bump the camera out of my hand, honey. I know. We'll do our thing soon. I'll admit, we still haven't gone for our adventure time due to me having a power nap, unfortunately. So she's feeling a little antsy. And by adventure time, I mean WALKs. I am not allowed to say the W word in this house. That is forbidden. If it is so much as mentioned. Oh God. It's, yeah. There is hell to pay, to say the very least. I'm just going to move in you guys a little bit closer so you can get a better view of what's actually going to be going on. So hopefully you can kind of see all the skin texture I'll be adding in. But I also want to make sure that my phone's not going to have the same mishap we did last time. I don't want you guys going for a roller coaster ride. Looks pretty interesting, to be honest, but... Bad cell phone. You stay. Awesome. Thanks for the subscription, Kong 2021. Definitely recognize a lot of your guys' names here. I appreciate you being regular viewers. It's honestly a lot of fun being able to go live. I quite enjoy this because it's interesting being able to actually interact with you guys a lot more. I would have never known about Titanus Doug if I wasn't streaming last night and got spammed with a bunch of Doug. Oh, yeah. I really want to make a Doug. Doug seems like he would be a really fun character to have, yeah. A lot of interesting things. There was a lot of silly animations in regards to Doug. I just love that. I think what I would probably end up doing if we... Well, there's going to be a Doug. We'll leave it at that. There's going to be a Doug here at some point. I don't know when, but Doug's going to show up. I definitely think I kind of want to have him as a Godzilla's kind of pet or awkward little sidekick. Couple of the animations or cartoons I saw in regards to him was just hilarious. Reminded me a lot of my animals, so I think that's probably part of the reason why I really like Doug. And I think that's probably also why the community of MonsterVerse fans in particular also really get a good kick out of him. So, hopefully he's in this new movie. I would like to see Doug once again. I'll root for Titanus Doug showing up, because I think they're going to have a lot of monsters in this new film, so I'm really pumped to go see this Godzilla versus, yeah, or not Godzilla versus, or Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire, I should say. Use that for my title so many times, I think I would know that by now, but apparently not. God, I'm tired. So, just gonna do a little bit of filming here. Pretty much have all the footage I need for the, well, this Godzilla character for part 3. So, that is at least a benefit. Nearly done this project, so. Once I'm done all the skin textures, I'll be moving on to the face. So, I don't know how much of that will be recorded on stream, but we'll get as far as we can. That's for sure. Usually the eyes are something that's really difficult. I really like to try and make sure I have full concentration to get those pupils in the correct place because, yeah. Like I stated in the, earlier on, we don't need a googly-eyed Godzilla. As fun and as funny as that concept sounds, I don't think a lot of people would really appreciate that. Although Kevin's had a pair of googly eyes more than once, so there is that aspect of things. But he is a silly character, so it only makes sense to actually have, well, him act like that, in my opinion. Okay, so now I'm going to use a remote, so I'm going to be silent for a few minutes here, so bear with me, and I'll check you guys in a few minutes. Of course, it's not working. I don't think I have Bluetooth on my cell phone. Oops. I only have 41% too. I'm going to have to charge this thing at some point. That is another piece of advice I would definitely recommend for stop motion. Always make sure your device is well charged. That is the last thing you want to happen is, yeah, your device dying. So I've had a couple close calls with my old iPhone, which is basically now the streaming phone. Can connect to Shutter. Oh, yes, you can. I have faith in you. Come on. There we go. Take 2. Oh, I gotta make sure I'm not in 8K. Only complaint about my new cell phone toy here. Makes great footage, but some of my editing software is not a huge fan of that 8K. So I gotta do some updating on that end, apparently. Alright. Might take one more shot just to kind of compare the two to see which one I kind of like better. Probably like the second one a little bit more because it will have a little bit more demonstration as to, well, maybe not now that I'm bumping the camera. I need a bigger office. My monster projects are getting far too large for my own little studio at this point. That's okay. I have plans for that. I just need to make some other investments at some point. I think my house is pretty much going to be an entire stop-motion studio very soon. But I'm entirely okay with that. I have, like, soundproof room for recording things. This is basically where we are hanging out, is kind of like my little art studio, or my art department, as I kind of like to refer it as. And then downstairs, I basically have an entire film set, where there's a small Lego city, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are pretty familiar with, and I have a bunch of other too. Like there's a anti-gravity table, as I like to refer it as, and a couple others. So yeah, what I'm basically just doing, give you guys a quick demonstration. Yeah, I really like talking to you guys too. Oh, Doug. Big Doug fans, I see. Yeah, it's definitely it's a lot of fun talking to like-minded people that have the same interests, so. I'm usually kind of the oddball out a lot of the time when I start talking about dinosaurs or Godzillas. People are like, oh, you're that guy? I'm like, yes, I am. I do not care. What's the matter? You're not fluent in Greek and Latin? But as you can guys see, it's kind of cool how it ends up turning out. However, it is kind of an annoying process for future me who has to animate with this guy, because every time I basically end up touching him, obviously the skin has to get touched up. But I'm willing to sacrifice my sanity for the name of art and cool Godzilla skin. I'll get that light out of your guys' way. Make it play in your favor at this point, because I won't actually be really doing a whole lot of filming. I could probably time-lapse this entire event for the actual video, but I don't think that's going to necessarily make the most interesting footage, so you won't really be able to see a lot what's going on with that. Hopefully you guys get a bit of an idea, but part of the idea behind these live streams, you get to kind of see all the little added details that you would miss in the normal content. Which means probably about 4 or 5 times more of the work that you're actually ever going to see. What happens in seconds in a video literally takes me hours and hours and hours. Although I'm sure a lot of you know that exact pain. I seem to have a fairly cool demographic of a lot of animators, so they're into claymation and stop motion, so very cool. Now, one thing that's a little difficult whilst I'm doing this, you kind of have to move all of his joints around, because you want to make sure you get into all those nooks and crannies, making sure that he's all good and roughed up and bumpy. Oh, Lego stop motion. Lego stop motion is a lot of fun. Always kind of enjoy playing with my Lego characters, making them come to life. I don't think they've really enjoyed it lately, though, because last time they were getting blown up by Godzilla, so. I know, Holly girl. Relax. Yeah. Hi, sweet pea. You're whiny. Mm-hmm. Oh, I think one of the kitties is around. Oh, hey, Mittens. Hey, baby boy. Guess we're having a pet day today. I'll show you everyone who Mr. Mittens is. I think I was talking about him last time, too. This is Mr. Mitties. He's my little polydactyl kitty friend. Yeah, hey buddy. And for those of you who are kind of going, what is a polydactyl cat? He just looks like a kitty to me. He's got extra toes. So he's essentially got like little thumbs. So that's why his name is Mr. Mittens. So yes. I don't want that. Pet me. Yeah. Where's your going, buddy? Okay. I'm gonna put you down now, Joe. Oh, Playmates. That's actually probably a good medium. I've never tried Playmates figures before. I have a couple action figures that I've always kind of wanted to try doing some stop motion with, but I've just never really had, say, a good opportunity to do that with. I'm not sure how I would really tie that in unless I had some weird giant plastic dude all of a sudden come into my Lego town and fight Godzilla. I mean, that'd be kind of interesting, I suppose, but kind of out of the blue. Not what I have planned. There will be some more monsters that are kind of showing up that was probably hinted at, more or less, in the last animation. So if you guys missed the giant tentacle hanging out around the house, you might want to rewatch that animation. So, now that I've introduced you all to Mr. Mittens, I think he's just going to hang out in my lap while I continue our Godzilla project. Yeah. So apparently, according to him, one of my hands is only needed to do this. The other one can pet him. Playmates is like 4 joints. Kind of difficult, but pretty good. For $10, yeah, that's not bad. Actually, one One thing I've kind of wanted to do, I've noticed like the dollar store has those little people art figures sometimes. I don't know if you know what I'm probably not explaining it very well, but a lot of artists will have like that wooden doll person essentially kind of placed inside their office so they can kind of mimic essentially what the person's pose would be that they're trying to replicate. God, should probably know this as more of an artist, but oh god, cat hair floating everywhere. Sorry guys. But I've noticed tiny mini ones of those at the dollar store, and I immediately just kind of went, I could probably use that as like an armature doll frame. Sculpt something around that entire thing. Oh god. Apologize, I am now very hairy. The one downside to snuggling with Mr. Mittens, he tends to shed. Yes, you. Talking about you. You pest. You're back. Thought you were done. Yeah, you're a little yo-yo. Oh, okay. Goodbye. Typical cat. He never knows what he wants. So yeah, these arms are proving to be slightly difficult to try to get this texture on, not gonna lie. They're pretty bulky and fairly muscular, so they kind of have a lot of weird odds and ends to try and get into, I've noticed, so. Hey, honey. I know. Soon. Sorry, pesty animals, guys. I have a small petting zoo in my house. I love animals, so there's always going to be kind of those interruptions. It's just as much their house it is as mine, my opinion. There's my German Shepherd, Holly. Then there's the old lady Foo-Foo, my old puggy. And then there's 3 kitties, Mr. Mitz being one of them, and Miss Kitty and Vinny. Miss Kitty's kind of an older kitty. I don't think she'll probably be showing up on stream very often. She tends to just kind of want to nap on her corner of the couch. That's about all she likes. And the occasional treat bags. And if, oh by god, if I'm late for breakfast or supper, she scolds me for that one. Mr. Mitz is a little more patient, I noticed. Not by much, though. Oh boy, that's a big name, I see. Thanks for joining in, first of all. Zachary, the guy, oh, blah, 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 something legend. I totally butchered that, or I nailed it, yep. I got it, I know, yeah. I am a fantastic reader. Oh boy. Apologize if that was obnoxious on your guys' end. Try to be mindful of my beverage consumption whilst I'm on the microphone. But not used to talking this much. Usually I'm kind of in silence when I'm doing this stuff most of the time. But this is definitely a nice change. I personally really enjoyed the streaming, so we're going to be doing this quite a lot more often. I don't think there's going to be one tomorrow. If there is, it would be very brief. And it may or may not be outside in big piles of snow. So that might be kind of interesting for those of you who don't live around it. We'll see if that happens. If it does, it's going to be very brief, though. Just kind of a demonstration of getting some glamour shots for this Godzilla. I think is going to be the way to do it. Kind of have some plans. May or may not involve an air compressor to reveal him in the final video. But we'll see how motivated I'm feeling that day. I don't know if I really want to drag an air compressor through snowbanks that are like 3 or 4 feet high. Yeah. Oh no. I'm gonna hairy Godzilla. A little bit of Mr. Mitz here. Zachary, the guy, the man, the legend. Okay, that's a lot easier to read when there's spaces. Thank you. It's a interesting name. Thanks for joining us, though. Playmates, yeah, Playmates are fun. I don't think I've actually really played with a whole lot of Playmates toys, to be honest. I've always been a bit of a claymation purist to a certain extent. Although, I do have a fancy new laptop that at some point I would kind of like the opportunity to play around with a little bit of CG, I think, but not overly. Just to kind of help make my life a little bit easier when I'm doing some of these Godzilla animations. So I see a lot of people, excuse me, generally kind of have a habit of doing that, which, yeah, I completely understand. As a purist, it's a little disheartening to kind of see it, but it takes forever. And yes, some of his back spikes here are removable. Only the middle section is always removable on all my Godzillas, because obviously this is where his actual torso is. So there's solid oven baked clay. Basically, that's where his rib cage is. So all of these are actually fixed in place, whereas these ones don't actually have any bone structure to really connect to, because he has a pivot point in the middle. So they end up just kind of being there. Sticked into place, but not actually holding in place. Michigan. Yeah, I'm from Canada, eh? We've been pretty lucky this winter so far, I must admit. It hasn't been too bad. Oh boy, my kitty's being annoying. Sorry guys if you can hear him kind of talking off to himself in the background. But this winter has been fairly mild, thankfully. The last little bit here has been really bad. Oh god. Got a couple snowstorms recently where I had to basically dig my car out of the snowbank, but happens a couple times a year usually. Obviously, some parts are a lot faster to cover than the various others. The more obstacles you have, the more difficult it's going to be. Luckily, the legs are pretty big and chunky, so there's just kind of run through that surface area real fast. Oh no! Degamizers are falling off. I gotta make my... I may as well just do that right now. I'm gonna make these just a little bit shorter because there seems to be a little bit too much of a hook stabbing through, so gonna trim that down just ever so slightly. May not look like much, but a couple millimeters like that usually will make a big difference. So he's just hanging out the very tip of his tail, so there's not really a whole lot of pokey room, for lack of any other kind of terminology for that. There we go, that's better. Now, back to rolling the clay. As we roll away, we're adding skin texture, you could say, to my legendary Godzilla today. And that's one of the few times I've actually rhymed so far on my live streams. I'm surprised no one's been kind of disappointed. I'm not live, yeah, not even gonna actually tease that motion because someone's gonna request it at that point, and I'm not rhyming the entire stream. Now we are on to the other leg. And fun fact, I have to have more than one of these tools now at this point. Basically, this is the Godzilla tool. The other one is for King Ghidorah, just so I don't contaminate clay. Because I find some of these clays have very different kind of textures, even though it's all from the same company. The different colors usually kind of have different actual compounds to them. It's kind of strange, but you can mix and match them and it gets pretty ugly real fast if you're not careful. And we don't need a cheetah Godzilla. Mr. Mitz, what you doing, buddy? Mitty. Let's see what he's doing. Seems to be chatty about something. Hey, what you doing? Yeah? How's it going? Yeah, good boy. Okay, yeah, I know you're there, Mr. Mitz. The aquarium room is closed right now, though, for a reason. Because if I had my fish tank room open, it would sound like someone's peeing in the background in my stream the entire time, and I don't think anyone wants to listen to that. Oh, yes, I have goldfish, too. They're not very interesting. They're more or less just my pond fishies, though. I'm sure some of you have seen that. If you haven't, be sure to go check out a lot of the dinosaur videos probably from last year. Basically, all of those glamour shots is actually just right in my own backyard. It's convenient. Very convenient, I'll put it that way. It's like, oh, well. Time to see a dinosaur in its natural habitat. Although, technically, because I'm the dinosaur nerd, I must point out, in the Cretaceous period, as well as the Jurassic and Triassic, in particular Triassic and Jurassic, there would have been no grass. Perhaps there would have been a little bit during the Cretaceous period, but grasslands are something that's fairly new to our, well, planet. I know that seems strange, because we've grown up with them in our, well, especially me, but I've grown up with that concept in our entire lives, pretty much. But yeah, grass is not a very old plant. In the grand scheme of things. I don't know if there's any creationists, but yeah, according to you, it's only a couple thousand years old, but bogus. We'll go there. Okay. Sorry, buddy. I don't care about your kitchen knife. No free publicity for you. Well, I think I'm almost done all the skin texture here, guys. Steamrolled that away, you could say. Oh, did I research Doug? Yes. I now am well aware of who Doug is, and Doug is awesome. I love Doug. I'm really sad I kind of forgot about Doug, but he is a must-have at this point. He will be making an appearance. Obviously, Shimu's still the next one, but yes, thank you. Doug is great. I got be a lot of laughs. Yeah. I got some plans for Doug, for sure. Team Doug Titanus. Oh, God. I think he kind of reminds me of my pets, so. Apologize, I haven't kind of checked up on the chat here for a little bit. Try and catch up on what you guys have to say here. So, yeah, man. Legend. Yeah, didn't get much snow this year. Oh, you guys get snow too. Okay, yeah. I'm almost tempted to kind of take the camera outside because I think you would be scared. Like it's not that bad this year. 2 years ago, I had snowbanks that were literally taller than me. It was over 6 feet of snow in my backyard, and it was just kind of like, oh god. Not a fan of winter, can you tell? Some people really like it. A lot of people have like snowmobiles and stuff like that. So, good toy to have out here, especially when you get, you know, snow 6 more times out of the year than you do summer. I think winter's usually about like 8 months. So you don't have snow that entire period of time, but I'm a guy that has fancy cars, so I like to drive those during the summer, and I can't do that during the winter, obviously. Missed this side of his arm. Do Shimu. Yes, Shimu will definitely be next. We got a lot of white plasticine clay that needs to be accounted for. Yeah. I think I have more plasticine clay than some of the art stores that I go to at this point, because I seem to be like one of the only guys that's really picking it up. Unfortunately, we don't have, I should probably start ordering it off Amazon in all honesty, because we usually don't have necessarily a very good supply where I'm from, where it's not regularly a boot or a boudin. Okay, I can't even speak in a bad Canadian accent. I'm sorry. We don't say about like that. It's about, not a boot. God damn it. Okay, so just, yeah, too much winter. I want springtime. It's a lot nicer to being able to go to the river and stuff like that, splash around with my puppies. Ollie really likes visiting the river. I got a really bad low spot there, which I should probably fix, but I don't know where the rest of my clay is. Future me problem. Oh, you're Canadian too. Cool. I make pipe cleaner. I'm assuming you're talking about like pipe cleaner dolls. I've seen that kind of stuff before. I remember playing with those quite a lot as a kid. I used to really kind of have a weird thing for pipe cleaners. I thought they were really cool. I don't know why. Don't really play with them anymore. The only form of wire I have to play with at this point is cannot be fuzzy. Does not really work well for my armature dolls. So, I'm going to do a little bit of spike removal here from the middle so we can get this middle section of the back nice and easily. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to get in between here, but no one's really going to notice that. And I'm going to use a rubber sculpting tool to kind of fix a bit of cracking. These are really awesome tools for you sculptors out there. They're able to basically get into those really hard to reach places that your fingers probably would not have nearly the same, what's the word I'm looking for? Elegance or precision. Precision is a better word for that. There you go. No more butt cracks. Oh, that was lame. I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Mittens. I know, lady. Very soon, my dear. Sorry, guys. Bunch of whiny pets. They apparently want my attention, too. I think they're starting to miss me. They're like, hey, you're always in here for hours, and you don't seem to pay much attention to us in this time frame anymore. What happened? Sorry, guys. YouTube Live. At least you get to be on camera every now and then. Holly seems to get a kick out of it every day, so... How many subs do I have? I'm not too sure what the count is right now. I know it was over 3,500. We're getting close to the 36, I think, I want to say at this point. I think 3,591 was the last number I want to say, but I'm not exactly sure. Could be changing. Usually changes every day, so... I've noticed the short feed seems to be where a vast majority of you guys have come from, so I think that's probably been the biggest kind of saving grace for this channel. Those seem to do quite well. You guys get a kick out of my poetry, apparently it seems too, so... I don't know if it's necessary for me to rhyme every single one, but... I think it'd be seen as quite out of the ordinary if I did anything else at this point. I was like, wait, he's not rhyming? What happened? Although, I remember there was actually one person on here that asked, too, because they knew I was Canadian. They're like, is that how you Canadians normally talk? And I'm like, no. Don't walk around going to my coworkers, how are you today, I do say? I am fine today. That'd be weird. Probably be kind of amusing. Maybe I should do that just to bug my coworkers one day. Just come in and speak in poems the entire day. Well, chances... Me being a welder, I don't know how well that's going to go over. Someone's going to get angry. Yeah. And it becoming like the movie Friday. You got knocked out. I'll mention the other word on live stream, but you get the gist. It's kind of a rough crowd, unfortunately. You're half Canadian. Okay, so you can't use the full A. You can only just do the eh. Eh. That did probably not sound very appropriate. Yeah, I've been a Canadian my entire life. I don't mind it. I just, yeah. Winters suck here. Occasionally, we do kind of get, like, the odd snow day, I guess, is kind of nice, because it's like, oh, well, great, I guess I can't go anywhere, I can stay home all day. But, realistically, yeah. I think it starts to wear on a person after a while. You don't really get to see a whole lot of daylight. As depressing as that sounds, but our nights are really long, and they're starting to get better, though. Yes, Mr. Mittens, I'm almost finished. So, now we're on the tail section here, so what I think I'm going to do is just kind of, something I don't like doing, but just makes my life a lot easier. We're going to remove all the tail spikes, just so I can add that texture in a lot easier. Oh god, I don't really have a good place to put them right now. Maybe there are things in the chat, so I can continue to put that off for now. She loved Mr. Mittens. Yeah, he's the little snuggle bug. I quite like him. Yeah. I ended up rescuing him out of a tree 3 years ago. And he never left. He's here. That's okay. Bit of a sucker when it comes to animals, unfortunately. One of those people, I just, like, if I can't go into a pet rescue for lack of a better term. Try and keep that on a more global perspective for you guys to understand, but yeah. If I walked into one of those places, I'm probably leaving with half the animals. I told myself I wasn't going to have any more pets, but... along comes this tiny little kitten stuck in a tree. Well, man, I was slightly annoyed with the fact when I found out he had multiple extra digits. I'm like, dude, you should be a cat that's like supreme expert at climbing. I don't understand how I'm the one up here saving you right now, but okay. Maybe, although I think I wasn't there for it. My neighbor ended up actually more or less contacting me about it. So apparently the story goes he got chased up a tree, didn't want to come back down. They were trying to get him out of there for hours, and yeah. Then they called me, I climbed up the tree, and now Mr. Mitz lives here. Apologize, guys. My throat's starting to get a little bit sore. Back to Godzilla. But once I'm done pulling out all the spikes, we'll steamroll his tail just a little bit, and then that's technically pretty much all the texture for his body. Oh no, getting my spikes mixed up out of order. Not too sure if I'm going to actually add this detail to his chest at this particular juncture in time. Probably play around with that a little off camera, see if I end up liking it or not. Guess that'll be a surprise for you guys tomorrow. For that tuned into the live stream, see what I decided on that end, whether or not I went full texture everywhere or not. Oh. Nice, you got 7K. That's a good number. Imagine you're probably part of the partner program. I want an iguana. Oh no. Actually, yeah, that was a rabbit hole I recently dove down myself. Do your homework. They can be pretty nasty apparently sometimes. For the most part, they're really docile. But number one morning, it's gonna get really big. Really big. Like, apparently some of these things can get up to like 7 to 8 feet long. So, there's that. And personally, the part that really turned me off was they're usually really docile, but if they do get angry, they can basically use their tails as whips, and that can apparently break bones. But even more troubling, if they get really upset, they bite fingers off. And I like my fingers to be able to do this kind of stuff, so after kind of finding that out, I was just like, nope, I already have a zoo. We do not need a lizard. Ended up bringing up that idea to one of my other friends, and then he went on a tantrum on how he wants a Komodo dragon, and I was like, dude, no. Apparently it's legal in some places here in Canada to actually have one. Alberta, you can. Thankfully, I don't live in Alberta. Although, I kind of wish I did, because Alberta is basically, like, home of the world's best dinosaur museum, arguably. So, don't mind giving them a promotion, but the Royal Terrell Museum, I actually did a video tour there about a year ago, and I probably will be going back, for sure. They have actually live dinosaur digs that you can go visit, but unfortunately, the weather didn't really hold up on our end, so that was something I didn't get to see, so next time I guess I get to go. So now we're just gonna carry Godzilla. Because, yeah, a little easier to get at some of these angles at this point. Slightly bend his tail out of the way. Oh god, he's heavy. Not gonna lie, this is a little awkward. Holding him by his backside. Sorry, Godzilla. Hopefully you don't mind. He is a very thick boy, yeah. He is the biggest Godzilla I've made so far. Probably will be for quite some time. He's about 5 pounds, maybe more, maybe 6. Kind of having to put my arm here on the table for a little bit more support, because yeah, oh. That's heavy. We're gonna put you down, buddy. Of course, he's now sitting on the tool. Can you tell that the monsters are starting to outgrow the studio? That's okay. I don't think there's any other way to make a Godzilla other than having him borderline be having size problems. Yeah, we're almost done the tail here now. Wasn't as bad as I thought. Although it's usually one of those parts that this, yeah, the skin texturing doesn't necessarily last on it nearly as long, and that probably looked really inappropriate. It's don't demonetize me, YouTube. It's not what it looks like. I swear. Okay, cool. There. Now that we have all of that done, we can stick each individual spike back into place. Oh, I can see Monster Zero. Yes, I have a King Ghidorah. I'll give you guys a slightly better view of him too. There's a slight delay on my end on this, the laptop here, so just bear with me. Okay, yeah, you can kind of see King Ghidorah there. At least get an overview of him. Time to go, the shameless plug, go check out the King Ghidorah project, because that was by far the most complicated project I've ever worked on to this day. Well worth it. I definitely one of my favorite, yeah, Godzilla villains of all time. But I quite legitimately gave myself nightmares on that project. I worked way too much on it. It took, I think it took over a month to make him. Although we're getting pretty close to that time frame with this Godzilla. It's at least a good solid 3-week project to have this guy basically be absolutely nothing but this and a bunch of armature wire to now this. Yeah, I'll just stick in my center row of pink spikes here. Making sure we don't lose any. Well, that spike doesn't look like it's supposed to be there. Yes, I have an order to my spiking, even though I don't think a lot of people would actually ever really pay attention to that or care, but I'll know. I mean, technically there's some very, very, very small Yes, Holly, I know, sweetie. Very small size differences, so... something you kind of have to pay attention to when you're sticking them in. Add the thegomizers. I should probably make a slight adjustment for you guys, sorry. I'm also trying to make sure that I don't lose anything. There we go. Because that would suck. We do have a few backup spikes, but... knowing my luck, it's not going to be the appropriate spike for that spot. And I'm going to be like, well, that's not right. I have to make a new one. Okay. Thagomizers are all in place. Kind of curious. Do you guys know what thagomizers are? I've talked about those a few times at this point. Kong is my favorite Titan. Oh, cool. We have a Kong person in the chat. That's actually kind of exciting. I'm surprised. I think the vast majority of my demographic is obviously Team Godzilla. Don't get me wrong, Kong is really cool, but I definitely kind of lean on the side of the giant atomic reptile. Mainly because dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are cool. Don't get me wrong, there's some pretty cool old ancient mammals that really don't get necessarily the notoriety or attention that they deserve. Arthropithecus is probably a good one. Or a semi-popular one, at least to me. I think it's semi-popular, but for those of you who don't know, Arthropithecus is basically a giant ground sloth. Probably one of my more favorite ancient mammals. Saber-toothed cats are always kind of cool, but I have a tendency to just kind of not really want to go with what everyone else uses as a failsafe. So I guess you could say Smilodon, because then people just, oh, it's the same thing, isn't it? No, it's not. I are nerd. Okay, good night, Kong. Sleep well, 2021. I'll probably be wrapping up the stream here pretty shortly anyway, unfortunately. Because I pretty much have just the face work to kind of worry about, which I will probably end up, yeah, I think I don't know if I'm going to do that part on stream. Mainly because it's just going to be a lot easier for me. Oh god, oh god. No! Okay. I don't think we lost any spikes. Close call. We're out of order, though. Yes, Mr. Mittens, I'll be right there, buddy. Especially for those eyes. Oh boy, gotta work on those eyes. Keep forgetting that. Very, very important step. We need our character to be able to see. Doug. Yes, Doug is definitely on my watch list, where he's gonna be, not sure when, but he's, yeah. Not sure if I'm gonna account entirely every time someone just goes Doug as a point. Probably every time he gets mentioned by that person, I think is more of a fair system to go there, but I get it. Everyone wants a Doug. I want a Doug, to be honest. So... yeah. Lot of cool, fun, interesting ideas I think can be had with that character, so... This spike looks a little big for that one, so I'll stick it there. I know, Mr. Mitz. Yeah. You're pesty. I know so. I live with you. I'm the one that saved you out of that tree. Mr. Pesty. Sorry, guys. Try to turn the angle there a little bit, so... This is by no means my fanciest tripod, unfortunately. Hopefully the camera feed's okay on your guys' end. I just kind of noticed the phone's frozen. Like, I can actually see myself, but the chat doesn't work on the phone anymore. Luckily, the laptop's over here, so I can see what you guys are saying. Yes, the eyes are really big. Right now, technically, they're kind of protruded out of his face just a little bit because they're going to be a lot more further sunk in. I still have to kind of build up, essentially, that entire area around your eye, if that makes any sense, to kind of give it that sealed off look. So they need to be really big at the beginning so I can basically make his eyelids, kind of, you know what I mean, his eye sockets. It's kind of morbid to maybe think of it that way to a certain degree, but there is a lot of forensic science that kind of has to do with sculpting to a certain extent on that too. I've seen some actually pretty cool archaeologist, documentaries, for example, where basically they were really curious as to what this, you know, ancient human species would have looked like, and they had the skull, so basically they hired a sculptor to actually just completely reconstruct the face, which I found really interesting, so that'd be a cool job. I'd love that. I mean, it'd be a little weird, but either way, that is my last spike. Aha. So now we got ourselves a Godzilla that's fully texturized for the most part. I think I might just do a little bit on his fingers because I kind of like having that slightly wrinkly skin appearance on the bony parts of his hands. Usually kind of rubs away once you start animating with it, but just know at the beginning I added it. It was there at some point. Okay. Oh no! Almost lost a spike. I don't know where that went go. Uh-oh. I don't know where that one goes. Future me problem. Or future tonight me problem. Because I have to get this thing finished. Destroyer. Okay, I'll add a point for Destroyer. Not gonna lie, that's a project I'm a little intimidated by, because... Basically, it's a massive Godzilla. We got giant spikes. We got bigger, beefier legs than anything else ever. And, yeah, wings, and he's massive, so... Be a cool project, but a difficult project. But... there hasn't been anything I haven't been able to sculpt to this day, so I'm not one to back away from a challenge. Any rate, guys, I think that's going to kind of do it for this stream for tonight, unfortunately. So, hopefully Godzilla is completely finished off by tomorrow. I don't have that much left. As you can see, we kind of got most of the work done. It's basically just the face that we kind of have to worry about at this point. I'm going to add some pupils in and a little bit of eye texturing. That's probably going to take me a good 2 or 3... at least probably an hour, maybe more. Hopefully not. But yeah, be sure to tune in tomorrow. I may or may not be live then. If I am, it's going to be for a very brief time, and it's going to be in a snowbank, so that'll be kind of interesting, getting some glamour shots of the finished character. If not, be sure to keep your post notifications turned on so you're aware of part 3 when this comes out. So, anyway, that's enough from me. Till next time, take it easy.